Hey everybody, hope you had a fun, safe Halloween. Even though it's November, I thought it would be fun to go back and watch a Halloween-themed movie that I grew up watching called Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. Austin and Sebastian are with us. Did you guys ever watch any of the Disney Channel movies back when we were young?
I was
Hocus Pocus one?
Actually, I don't think it was, but they would play it though.
when I was growing up, I was a Nickelodeon guy.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people did watch Disney and Nickelodeon, but there was a lot of people who only watched Disney or only watched Nickelodeon.
Yes.
And I was a Nickelodeon guy. So.
Sure. I was Disney and Cartoon Network. And then I did watch SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, but that was about the only Nickelodeon I'd watch. But, okay. Well, I watched a lot of those Disney Channel movies when I was in elementary school, and this was one of them. And this is not a movie that Disney Channel will ever make again in today's PC Disney World. They would never make a film like this again. This is the kind of movie that you could put in the category of like Hocus Pocus or Goosebumps, where it's a quote-unquote kid-friendly horror comedy. It's not too dark and scary for kids, but at the same time, it's not a straightforward comedy. It's got some dark moments. And so I saw this one a lot growing up. So I decided it'd be fun for us to go back and rewatch it. So, well, for you guys, the first time watching it. For me, it was a rewatch. So one of the pros I will say is that this movie, I thought, had some good, classic style horror music throughout the film.
Yeah.
It's kind of standard horror music, but I thought it wasn't.
And then on the flip side, it also had some amazing '90s,
late '90s grunge
90s.
Instrumentals. Yeah, there's a weird blend of that.
Ugh.
So we open with our main characters watching a horribly acted vampire movie. And we're introduced to the three siblings, the youngest being a boy named Taylor, the middle child, who's kind of the main one, Adam, who looks stoned throughout the entire film. And he is a big vampire/horror movie buff. And then the oldest of them, Chelsea, who, of course, hates Adam. So we are introduced to them. They have a single mom. And we get, from the beginning, quite a bit of, already quite a few vampire references. We see a Bela Lugosi Dracula poster in Adam's room. That was cool. And we see a few other references like that throughout the film. The mom is divorced, and the ex-husband is already getting married. And she just found out, but the kids knew ahead of time, and she feels pretty low about this. She has some low self-esteem and some low self-confidence. But Adam reassures her by saying, "Mom, you're still the bomb." To which she says, "Is that a good thing?" He goes, "Yeah, it is."
The bomb.
Did you guys ever say it to anybody when you wanted to bring up their spirits?
No.
What was the catchphrase when we were
Sebastian, don't let your ex bring you down. You're still the bomb.
We all grew up in the mid 2000s. I don't even remember what the catchphrases were in the mid 2000s.
It's probably something stupid.
The bomb.
Like the bomb.
The bomb had dropped off.
The bomb had exploded.
And then I just love is that a good thing?
Yeah, she doesn't even know. She's like, I'm not even gonna. So, anyways, Adam does not study for a presentation at school, and he BS's his way through it and gets in trouble. He goes home. Mom finds out, very upset with Adam, and grounds him. It's bad timing because he and his buddy got backstage concert tickets to a rock band. Chelsea, the older sister, decides to antagonize him, so as he walks away, she says, "Enjoy your weekend, dweeb." To which then the mom says, "You know what, Chelsea? You're grounded too." I love that. How many times have we watched a movie or TV show where a sibling will get in trouble and then another sibling will antagonize them for it and get away with it? I love how the mom was like, "You know what? You're a crappy sister, so I'm going to ground you too just for that."
Dweeb.
Yeah, and she called him a dweeb.
Great.
Like, if you call someone a dweeb, that kind of makes you a dweeb. So, Chelsea and Adam decide, we want our weekend, so we have to get Mom out of the house. So we're going to set her up on a blind date with somebody, so she'll be out and we can go out. So they look through, I guess, dating ads on the newspaper, and there's one person they come across who is currently incarcerated. How did that guy get on the paper?
Oh, you know.
And when is he going to be able to get out of jail so he can go on that date? But anyways, they do come across somebody who enjoys long walks on the beach, is very romantic, it comes off as a total tool, and they decide, this is the guy that we have to set Mom up with. So they email him.
So what's his name?
Wolfsbane!
Wolfsbane.
Yeah. That's not sketch at all.
No.
So they email Wolfsbane to tell him to meet them at the supermarket. So then we cut to a castle. Oh, sorry, you want to say something?
Now, what's more romantic meeting a place than a supermarket? Isn't that great?
It's awesome.
No, I can't think of any.
It's great. It's no meeting a guy who's incarcerated, that's for sure.
Right.
I guess out of the two, they had to pick the lesser of the two evils. And that evil happens to be a vampire. So we cut to our vampire who gets an email. We see his computer and it says, "You have a message," and it zooms out. And we see his giant coffin.
And then we see the fireplace light up.
The fireplace lights up. It plays evil music. This vampire has his computer on, and it's on a table right next to his coffin. His coffin opens up. Actually, he doesn't even open up. He creaks the door open and then reaches his hand out to grab the mouse and answer the email. This was so awesome.
That had to be the best villain introduction.
That has to be, one of the greatest introduction shots.
He opens the message and reads it, and then
evil laughs, just a big evil laugh. So then, that's right. So they end up convincing Mom to take them to the store. And so they're there, and they say, we got to go find Wolfsbane so we can set them up with Mom. And then we cut to Lizzie McGuire's dad, who is in a trench coat and fedora hat, just the most stereotypic detective look ever. And he walks into the...
Or serial murderer.
Yeah. And he walks into the market and says, "Come to Papa." That was creepy.
Well then.
Yeah, well then.
And then starts following the little kid.
Yeah, that's right. Taylor, the youngest, keeps looking at him, and he just kind of looks back and smiles. Very creepy. There's a lot of, pedophile undertones in this film. Or overtones. So, they can't find Wolfsbane in the market, and they're about to leave, and then all of a sudden, Mom crashes her car into another guy's car named Dimitri, and he's very charming. And the two immediately hit it off. And they realize, well, forget Wolfsbane. This guy clearly has it for Mom, and Mom kind of likes him, so let's see if we can get them to go on a date. So Dimitri and Mom start talking.
A.K.A. Mr. Sheffield from The Nanny.
That's right. And I'll get to him in just a second. And so then he does end up asking her out on a date. She's a little skeptic, but then she says, well, you know what? Why shouldn't I? And so then they decide it's a date. Great. And then they're all about to get in their car and drive away. Taylor turns around and sees Dimitri walk into an alley, and with late 90s, early 2000s TV special effects, changes into a bat and flies away. Dimitri is a vampire.
Oh, snap.
Uh-oh. I actually will say the effect of him changing to the vampire was not that bad. It could have been...
For when it was made.
Yes, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
In fact, that effect is better than some CGI effects that we've seen in current films. So,
dude, it's no guy being thrown on another guy from the top of the roof in Vendetta.
Is anything as good as Vendetta, though?
No.
Yeah.
Greatest movie ever.
It's the greatest movie ever made. So, I have to say, the actor that plays the vampire, Dimitri, he is fantastic in this movie. He is having so much fun, and he doesn't have the mindset of well, it's a Disney movie, so I'm just going to be silly because it's for kids. He is playing this role as if it is a legitimate horror film.
Yeah.
And he is legitimately a scary antagonist. And it makes it all better. It's great. So...
Well, he's the only good thing in that sitcom, in my opinion.
In Mr. Nanny.
In The Nanny.
In The Nanny, not Mr.
In The Nanny.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha. So, great. Mom's out for the weekend. Now Adam can go to that concert. Problem is that his buddy already gave his ticket to Boomer, who's a mean 10th grader with terrible hair. So he has to make a deal with Boomer to get the ticket back, saying that he can go on a date with his sister Chelsea. Chelsea, of course, does not know anything about this,
and already has a
boyfriend. But Adam figures, you know what? I want my ticket. So Taylor tries to convince Adam that Dimitri's a vampire and that Mom can't go on a date with him because Mom's got a date with a vampire. Adam, of course, laughs this off. And then we cut to Adam not really playing Soul Reaper, but watching Soul Reaper, which was an old PlayStation 1 game. And he's watching it on a computer monitor. That was random. Dimitri shows up at the house in a... What kind of car was that?
It was a Ferrari of some kind.
A very nice red Ferrari. Mom is, of course, skeptic because she hasn't been on a date in forever, and she has, again, low confidence about this, but the kids convince her anyways because they so desperately want to go to that concert. So Taylor's got to ruin everything for them. The youngest one, Taylor, runs out of the house to go chase down Mom and Dimitri. So we cut to Mom and Dimitri out on their date, and they're at this nice fancy restaurant, and still very low on the confidence scale. The mom says, "I don't think you have the right girl for this. You don't know anything about me." To which Dimitri, in a very creepy way, replies, "I don't know who you are, but I know who you could be." That was awesome. And then he says, "How about you try the steak? It's good for the blood." That was awesome. And then the waitress says, "How about some garlic bread?" He goes, "No! Thank you." So, we get another vampire reference. As Taylor is downtown in slow motion for some reason. Yeah,
dude, late 90s, early 2000s.
He rides his bike past a theater, and on the marquee it says Lost Boys. Nice little vampire nod there. And so, as Taylor's about to go in the restaurant and ruin their date, the siblings, Adam and Chelsea, catch up with him ahead of time and say, "Taylor, stop it. Dimitri's not a vampire. Go back home. You're ruining this for everybody." But Taylor's convinced, no, Dimitri's a vampire. So then Adam says, "Okay, I need to get my obnoxious brother back home. I am going to convince Dimitri to do a BS test just so we can get this stupid kid back home." So Adam goes into the restaurant, apologizes for interrupting their awkward date, and they convince Taylor that Dimitri will take the quote-unquote spoon test, which is not, of course, a real vampire test. Dimitri... Again, he's great in this scene because he's playing along with Adam, and he's just so charming. He's just so great at playing this charming, deceiving vampire. So he does the BS test. They convince young Taylor that he's not a vampire. Taylor says, "Okay, I'll go back home." And as Adam's about to walk out of the restaurant, he sees a mirror, but Dimitri's not in the reflection. And he realizes that he is, in fact, a vampire.
And he does not point it out to anyone.
No, he doesn't. Now, I want to say something. This scene is almost shot for shot a ripoff of a scene from Fright Night, which is a really good vampire horror comedy from the 80s, because that also involves a scene where the main character knows that the villain is a vampire, and one of the other characters says, no, he's not, so he gives him a BS test to prove that he's not, and then that character looks in the mirror and sees that he's not in the reflection. It's almost identical. I just wanted to point that out. But what's great about this scene is that once Adam realizes that Dimitri is a vampire, he turns around, Dimitri in a close-up shot looks at him and smiles, and with his big vampire fangs showing now, he goes, "Bye-bye." It was fantastic.
And yet he still does not point this out to anyone.
Yes. And then as they walk out, Dimitri explains to the mom about how, I think there is something in you. A fire. It's time to let that fire burn. And it cuts to the mom. She is smiling, but she looks so uncomfortable. It's
not a happy smile.
It is I am on a date with a creep. A legitimate creep. So, Adam's mindset is, I need to get Taylor back home, babysitter's there, and with him out of the way, Chelsea and I need to go back and stop Dimitri. So he tells Chelsea this. Chelsea, of course, does not believe that he's a vampire, but she ends up tagging along anyways. And so as they go back, Dimitri and the mom have left the restaurant, and they take a walk through the town. So we get back to Lizzie McGuire's dad, who we realize is Van Helsing. Well, or a Van Helsing. And Malachi. I think it was Malachi Van Helsing. That was his name. And he's a vampire hunter. And Taylor, earlier in the film, called him to get help. So Van Helsing visits Taylor at his home while Taylor is being watched by the world's worst babysitter. and... And so he comes in, and Taylor says, oh no, it's okay. It turned out that he wasn't a vampire. We did the spoon test. To which Van Helsing gives him a funny look, and he realizes, oh no, it was all BS. He was a vampire. So Van Helsing says, all right, I have to go stop him. And Taylor says, let me tag along. And Helsing says, no, I have to do this on my own. So he leaves Taylor at the house. And so we cut back to the awkward date, and... the mom comes across an old venue that plays rockabilly music that she used to perform in. And she says, we have to go in and dance. And clearly Dimitri does not want to do this because he's a vampire probably from the 1800s, and he does not like hillbilly rockabilly music. But he doesn't want to disappoint the mom, so he says, oh no, I love rockabilly music. To which she says, you like kids and rockabilly music? I must be dreaming.
Yeah, because those two things could never go together.
That's right. Apparently, if you are a rockabilly musician, you will never, ever have children. So, it cuts back.
Well, that might be for more reason than one.
That's true. So, Taylor, being more of a brat, sneaks into Van Helsing's car and tags along with him. Van Helsing realizes this and decides, all right, I'm going to drag this obnoxious kid with me to go find the vampire. And it's at this point that I realize that I forget the guy's name, but he's the dad from Lizzie McGuire. His performance in this movie sucks. Taylor, the youngest of the three siblings, sucks. And I don't give him much flack for it because he was like 8 years old when he did this. But they decided to pair up the worst two actors in the film together. So this bunch is annoying. So they go out to find the mom and the vampire. And we get to Dimitri and the mom dancing at the rockabilly venue, and we get a song. Adam sneaks backstage into the venue and convinces the band playing on stage to drag his mom up there to sing a song for old time's sake. So we get this full-on song, and as she's up there, and Dimitri's waiting for her to get off stage so he can finally suck her blood and take her back, Adam convinces a bouncer that he's been stalking her all night. To which the bouncer is like, well, why are you in this club? Because by this point, it's got to be late, and this has to be a 21 and over club, and this 13-year-old kid's in there. And he's like, that's awesome that that's your mom. What are you doing here? But he convinces the bouncer anyways. So the bouncer grabs Dimitri and kind of brutally throws him outside, and Dimitri lands on Adam and Chelsea's bikes. And even though it's just him throwing him into those bikes, I thought, you will never see something like that in Disney Channel today. Because it's violent.
Yeah.
And we can't have violence.
Bringing that point up, earlier in the scene when they were in the restaurant and they interrupted them to do the spoon test, the main character, right. Adam, Adam's his name, right? Said, well, we've got to do this spoon test while he's trying to convince his brother that he's not a vampire. And trust me, you would know, because if he puts the spoon on his nose, then and he's a vampire, then his bloody chunks will be spewed all over the restaurant or something like that. And I thought to myself, I was like, that is a line that you will not hear in a Disney Channel film these days.
PC police would get all over that. Parents would be so offended by that today. Bloody chunks would paint the restaurant. Yeah, that was brutal. So the moment Dimitri gets knocked out of the club, Chelsea runs away and hides, so Dimitri doesn't know she's there. And The bouncers say, and stay out. And they go back into the club. Dimitri is furious. And with these 2 random bikes that he fell on, he grabs them and does something terrible to them. We don't know what he does. It was so violent that they couldn't show it on camera. But he basically destroyed Adam and Chelsea's bike. And then he walked up the wall, up to the roof. And we all said, is that a vampire thing? To which the movie confirms it is, but I don't know if I've ever seen that in another vampire film.
Like but you know what? Whatever. You lazy writer.
And I'll give him credit. Again, this was not a terrible looking effect. And so, despite Adam's best efforts, Dimitri gets back into the club, and when the mom is done singing her song, he gets her off stage and they leave. So, they leave, and their bikes, Adam and Chelsea's bikes are destroyed, so they can't follow them anymore. Chelsea now knows that Dimitri's a vampire, and they think, where will they go next? And they said, well, Mom really wanted to go to that Harvest Festival, which just so happens to be the concert that Adam wanted to go to. So they decide to call Boomer the bully, who is supposed to be on a date with Chelsea that night, to give him a ride. So they all arrive at the festival, and they try convincing Boomer and Adam's friends that their mom has a date with a vampire, and of course they shrug it off. Boomer reveals that he gave to Chelsea that he gave Adam the ticket in exchange for having a date with her, and this is the big dramatic moment where she is very hurt by her brother's actions and she storms away. Adam chases after her, and they have a very emotional talk, and she says, I can't believe how selfish you were to basically prostitute me for your stupid concert. To which he says, look, Chelsea, that was different. Okay, things were different. I was different. To which she replies, that was earlier this afternoon!
That was pretty clever. I like that.
You know your character development is rushed and irrational when the characters are flat out calling you out on it. But nevertheless, he convinces her that he does care about her and that he's sorry. So they realize we still need to stop Dimitri from sucking the blood from their mother. It cuts back to Boomer, the bully, and they come across Dimitri's Ferrari, and they go, hey, I bet that's the vampire's car. And they actually, screw up the car, to which I thought, wow, the bullies in this movie actually did something to help them out.
But see, that begs the question. They didn't believe them when they said that it's
right?
a vampire. So they're basically vandalizing or
a random car,
destroying someone's car who's not a vampire. I mean,
from their point of view, yeah.
Just someone's random car.
Right? No, why not?
It's a Ferrari and it's red. It must be a vampire. So let's destroy it. Yeah, what a bunch of douchebags. So basically, they're at this. They go on Mom and Dimitri go on a couple rides at the festival, and then Dimitri gives a very creepy speech about how, well, this has been fun, but now it's time.
To give it all up.
It's time to give it all up forever with me. And she very kindly, but in a very condescending way, tells him, look, this has been a really fun time. And I rediscovered my young self and realized that there's still a lot of energy in me, and I found my confidence. But at the end of the day, as nice as you are, there's not going to be anything between us. So I kind of appreciate that, they're developing the mom because she in the beginning had no confidence left because of her divorce, but through this creepy, uncomfortable date, she realized that she can't have confidence and she can still live life. But what she basically told this guy is, you are such a geek, because throughout the entire date, he's trying to be romantic, let's take a chariot through the park, let's do this, and she's just like, no, let's do bumper cars, let's do this. And so she's basically telling him, thanks to you, you are such a geek and such a boring person to go on a date with that it helped me realize that I'm above your boring standards. So he has had enough. And the movie actually kind of turns into a horror film, kind of. Well, the suspense kicks in. And they play music that I swear is straight from The Shining, which is awesome. And he tells her, I hate this. I hate hillbilly music. Look into my eyes. And he hypnotizes her. And now the mom is under his evil spell.
Why didn't he just do that from the beginning?
That's a great question. Maybe he gets more aroused if, if he can actually persuade her in some way. Because, I mean, he is supposed to be a romantic, you know. But,
whatever, man.
So Adam sees this happening from a distance, grabs a baseball, hits Dimitri back in the head. Dimitri turns around.
And with a very horrible early 2000s effect, like, teleports behind him.
Yes. And then they have a conversation. I loved this. I genuinely loved this conversation. Because basically he says, "Why are you so rude to interrupt your date with my mother?" I mean, with your mother. Gosh, that sounded wrong. He goes, "Why are you so rude to interrupt the date that I'm having with your mother? You are the one that set us up." And he goes, "You're Wolfsbane?" "Yes." And
You sent for me.
"You sent for me. I'm doing exactly what you wanted." And he's great in this scene. And actually, I think the kid that played Adam actually did a good job in this scene. And so he basically says, "I'm not going to let you turn my mom into a vampire. I'm not going to let you do this." And he says, "I'm 13. To which he replies, "And I'm a vampire." That was all. And he basically gives up. Adam's like, crap. He is a vampire.
Yeah.
So he literally like hangs his head and just walks away. And then Dimitri goes back to the mom who's hypnotized and goes, "All right, come. It's time we go home." And she goes, "Yes." And then they walk away. So Chelsea regroups with Adam. Adam says, "It's over. We've lost Mom. There's no way we can stop him." But Chelsea convinces him, "No, we can't give up now." So they realize he must be going back to his castle. I think they explained earlier where the castle...
It's by the lake.
Yeah, well, I think they explained earlier that like Dimitri said that he's been rebuilding that or something as his cover-up. So they realize where he's going. So thanks to the bullies damaging the Ferrari, this puts the vampire at a halt. And it gives Adam and Chelsea a head start to get to the castle via cab, which is driven by the most stereotypic Indian taxi driver of all time.
Dude, that's not racist.
Who stops at the castle and goes, "Are you sure you two want to be here? Suit yourself." And then drives away, leaving these two miners in the middle of nowhere with a spooky castle. That's responsible. So they go into the castle and they realize the only thing they can do is take Dimitri's coffin and put it into the lake. Because vampires can't cross water without their coffin. And they'll just wait till sunrise. Great. So they do this. Dimitri gets to the house. Hypnotized mom just stands in the middle of the mansion not doing anything.
Thanks, Pam.
It's the best acting she's done throughout the whole film.
No shit.
Dimitri walks into his room and goes, "Give me back my coffin!"
Well, first he says the line from Dracula.
Oh, you're right. Yes, another reference. Good call. When Dimitri and the mom get to the castle, you hear wolves in the background howl, and it's straight from Dracula, where he goes, "Listen to them howl. Children of the night, what wonderful music they make." I like that. I like how, if a major motion picture did that, where they were constantly referencing better vampire stuff, I would hate it. I appreciated that a Disney Channel movie did it. I don't know why. I guess because this is aimed for kids, but they're making like adult horror references. I don't know. I appreciate that. It's nice to know that the people that are making this horror film for kids, to a certain extent, have an appreciation for good horror stuff. I don't know. Especially with the genre of being vampire. I don't know. I kind of appreciate that. So Adam decides to sit on the coffin in the lake as Chelsea hides in the bushes. He confronts Dimitri and he says, "I'll give you back your coffin if you give us back our mom." To which Dimitri then grabs Chelsea and says, "I got a better idea. Give me back my coffin or I'll take both your mom and your sister." Now, his sister is supposed to be 16 years old, and he says, "Well, I think Chelsea would make..." What does he say? He's like...
A great vampire princess.
That's right! She would make a great vampire princess.
And there was this weird... Like, he grabs her, and then for a second, her clothes change into, like, a red dress.
Yes, it was during, like, the the teleporting.
Yeah,
thing.
and then it changes back into her normal clothes.
That was weird.
Yeah,
but there's some strong pedo undertones here for kids. Adam realizes he has no choice here. She says, "If I give you back the coffin, will you promise to let Chelsea go?" To which he says, "Of course." So, trust the vampire. So, during all this, the vampire hunter, Van Helsing, and Taylor realize where the castle is, so they drive up there. The whole movie has just been Van Helsing trying to find Dimitri and just being 5 steps behind. But he's such a dull Van Helsing that you just don't care. So, anyways, they get back into the castle. Adam brings in the coffin. And then Adam just blatantly tells Dimitri, "We're not giving up on getting our mom back." To which Dimitri says, "Well," very condescendingly, "Well, Adam, I thought we had a deal." "Well, I don't blame you. I wasn't going to follow it anyways. I was going to kill both of you." So then Van Helsing arrives in the castle and says, "Leave them alone." Finally, the confrontation between Van Helsing, Lizzie McGuire, and Dimitri, the vampire, that we really did not care about whatsoever. We finally get the showdown that no one asked for. And this showdown, what a showdown. This quote-unquote action scene basically consists of Van Helsing and the vampire throwing each other around with terrible 90s special effects.
Like twice.
Yeah. Actually, Van Helsing does not throw the vampire. The vampire leaps in the air, and Van Helsing just gets out of the way. That's his attack on the vampire. And Dimitri grabs Van Helsing, lunges him into a piano. That was a brutal stunt effect. And Dimitri, in a hilariously creepy way, smiles with his vampire teeth, gets close to Van Helsing's throat, and then Taylor, the youngest child, grabs a wooden stake and hits Dimitri on the back of the head with it, when he could have just stabbed him in the chest with it. But instead he hits him in the head and goes, "Leave him alone." And we have a very cheesy confrontation talk, to which then Dimitri, I feel like this is just the actor here, Dimitri just goes, "Enough! What is with you people? You are just kids! And I'm a vampire!"
Yeah, before that, when he's just having the talk with the Taylor, the youngest.
Yeah.
Taylor's like, "Don't touch him or I'll stop you." And he's like, "What are you talking about? You're 8!"
Yeah. To which he then replies, 8.5. Ooh. So then Adam says, "You have no power over us." And then Dimitri goes, "Don't I?" And then I don't know if this is a vampire thing either, but he basically freezes Adam and Chelsea, and they can't move. And he basically forces them to move closer to him, and we get more pedophile implications here. And we can't move. Taylor's a helpless 8.5-year-old. Van Helsing is knocked out, and Mom's hypnotized, and
Dimitri's getting touchy.
Yeah, Dimitri is getting very touchy, and by this point, Adam and Chelsea are literally like face to their faces are up to like his shoulders, and he just goes, "Well, who should go first?" And if you were to plug out the video and just listen to the audio, this would sound very inappropriate, because it would basically consist of you hearing him going, "Ha ha ha ha, who's first? Mom, help us!" "She can't help you. She's busy." And we learned earlier in the film, when they were watching that crappy vampire film, that the only thing to break a vampire's trance is true love. So Adam and Chelsea yell at their hypnotized mom, "Mom, we love you! Save us!" To which the mom finally breaks the spell, realizes what's going on, and she goes, "You are!" Just that's it. She just says, "You are."
And then she shoves him.
And then she shoves him, and then we get the most slow-mo, blurry climax of all time, where, with very overly dramatic music, where she shoves him into the coffin. They all slam the coffin and sit on it, which For a strong vampire, that would be nothing. But
that earlier broke down the front door to the house.
Dimitri earlier broke down the front door to this castle, but a couple kids sitting on a coffin—that's just too much. And Van Helsing recovers, grabs a nail gun with, as he said to explain, silver nails, and nails the coffin shut. So what a safe way to stop the vampire without legitimately killing him, because it's still a Disney movie at the end of the day. So Dimitri is trapped forever in this coffin, and then Van Helsing kind of hits it off with the mom, and they said, "Oh, well, would you like to have breakfast? Sure, it's a date." Which I'll say, "No, it's not a date. It's not a date." But the mom goes, "No, guys, it's a date. But just know, I don't date vampires." Freeze frame. Great. Well, she's only been on 2 dates since her divorce. Now, one of which was a vampire, so...
And a train wreck.
Yeah, and it did not work out very well.
It wasn't even a good date.
No, it wasn't. She felt uncomfortable the whole time. It made her realize how much better she was than all this.
Back to the vampire references. Did you make mention to Soul Reaver?
Yeah, I mentioned the Soul Reaver thing. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. It's a little less than an hour and a half with commercials. It'd probably be about 2 hours now on Disney Channel. It's pretty much the exact same as I remembered as a kid, only I didn't catch all the Dracula references, so that was cool. Again, you will not see really a movie like that today on Disney Channel. I think, I'd say I'd recommend, I think if you like, kind of the hocus pocus that kind of genre of kids horror films, I think this would fit in fine. If a kid wanted to watch a kind of scary but not too scary movie, something that'd be suitable for like an elementary school kid, and you don't want them to get nightmares, this would be perfectly suitable. It's not offensive. It's not too dark.
Well, it has offensive parts in it, but
nothing more than like
a racial stereotyping.
Yeah, and nothing more than the Disney films of the 80s.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it, Sebastian?
If you're going into it looking at it as a bad movie, then yeah.
Yeah.
As a B movie sort of deal.
If they were like, would you recommend it to like a parent who has kids that want to watch it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you recommend it, Austin?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty harmless. That's Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. Maybe I'll go back and watch some more of those Disney Channel movies from my childhood. I don't know. We'll see. But thanks for listening.